Welcome back to DESCareers. I am so excited to bring another incredible guest. This morning, we're meeting with Donna Wicks, who is the Clinical Performance Manager at Neuropedia Children's Neuroscience Center. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm always really excited about learning about the career journeys of different professionals. And so I'm just so excited. I'll keep repeating that over and over again. I have so many questions, Donna, and I think the first thing that comes to my mind is, what do you do? But more importantly, why are you here talking to me about it?
What do? I help people. The basic principle is I help people and I like helping people. And I do it because I love it. I do it because of the reward that it gives me and knowing that I can help people.
And why are you talking to me today? You're a busy woman. Why talk to the youth?
Because what I do, what I trained to do to start off with, is really important, knowing that you can help people. And if you have a natural desire in you, we all have things in life that we're good at. And there are things that we're not good at and we struggle at and that we have to work hard. And they're the bits that we tend to kind of shy away from. So I think the first thing for me to tell you is that I am dyslexic, and I was dyslexic. The diagnosis was late as I was going through my secondary school. So my route here hasn't been an easy route. If a door could be shut in my face, it's been shut in my face. And so it has been my job, with the support of a great family and some great teachers, has been to write, okay, this is where I want to be. This is my end goal. How do I get round this door being closed and then find another route? Because I wasn't the high-flying academic A-star type of student. I don't think you have A-stars anymore, but I wasn't that route, because as now I've established, my brain works in a different way.
I'm so happy that you brought that up this morning. I think it's a very important topic to be bringing up. I heard you mention a couple of things. One is that you had a diagnosis of dyslexia, and traditionally that would have been a great obstacle in not empowering you to achieve what you've achieved. But more important than that is what I'm hearing you say is the stereotype that we have about that specific type of student that can go down the path that you've gone down is just the wall that we're creating, and not necessarily something that we have to live by. So let's take it right to the beginning. What does a clinical performance manager do, and how does it fit in the terms of a medical profession?
Okay, so I'm trained occupational therapist, and I'm a trained physiotherapist, because I have a degree in one and a master's in the other, and I'm clinically registered in the UK. I can't do it here, but I'm clinically registered and trained as both. So as a clinical performance manager, my job is to oversee all of our therapy staff within Neuropedia. So we're a neuroscience centre, so we only deal with children. So we have the doctor side, we have the very medical side, but then we have the rehab side, or the therapy side, which is people just need a little bit of extra help, TLC or support, to reach their goals. And that comes in very different forms. So I liaise with the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, and the other physios. So we all work together, so we run the team. And so basically when we have children that have quite complex needs, which often we do, that are needing more than one service, I just get involved to make sure that the service is tailored to that child. What that also means is then if children are in mainstream schools, which is what we're trying to push, because if we've got inclusion, is I then liaise and work with the schools to make sure that the child is the centre, the child is the key person, and that everything that is needed for that child to learn, aspire, and reach their potential, everything's in place. But part of the other side of the job, which is kind of the slightly more boring side, is that audits. Are we meeting the professional standards that the DHA set for us? But not only that, that I have put in place and installed within the company. Are we mentoring our own staff to making sure that they're reaching their full potential? Because if they reach their full potential, then our patients get the very best service in response.
Donna, I know that when you you mentioned a couple of things that are just, they're really resonating with me, both as an educator and as a parent, and in this role as a career practitioner, trying to help the youth learn how to overcome obstacles. And when you began talking to us in this interview, the first thing you mentioned to me was I had a great family and some great educators that supported me through this. I think sometimes we have gatekeepers that tell young people, no, it's not possible, or no, you can't achieve that. If you can go back to that younger Donna, the Donna that, as you said, if there was an obstacle, it was put in front of my path and I had to overcome that. What did you learn back then that helped you to be the strong practitioner that you are today?
I think the most important thing is you want to say I can't and you want to say I give up, which is your initial reaction. That's everybody's initial reaction. And goodness knows I've been there 100 times. But if you give up, what is there? There isn't. So you've got to make that opportunity. You've got to go, right, how do I get around this? How do I change this? And often telling someone I need help is all well and good. And that's the first step. But often saying to someone, but I do it this way. This is how my brain wants it, or this is how I need it. And often people are wanting to help you, but equally don't know how to support you. So one of the things that I have learned, and try to say this not only to my to kind of my fellow colleagues and the people that I mentor, but also to the students that I work with, is, you know what, I really struggle reading, and this is me. I really struggle reading black ink on white paper. I find it really difficult. It's like looking at a 3D picture. So when you send me an email, or if you send me something that you want me to read on a piece of paper, please can you just put it on a different colored piece of paper, because it makes it easier for me. So often sometimes you need to tell people what they need to do to help you.
Incredible. Some of your career highlights, Donna, you mentioned, and you just mentioned in mentoring colleagues, you said that you set up an Inspire Hub that makes inclusion really inclusive for children with SEN. What does that mean, an Inspire Hub?
So in one of the other schools in Dubai, they were in the fortunate position of in the process of building a completely brand new secondary school. I was already working with the prep part of the school, and the head of inclusion there and I were just like, but there's still so much segregation. We talk about inclusion, but we're still wanting to pull kids out of classrooms. And there's lots of children that go into kind of special schools, but actually mainstream schools with a little bit of accommodation can take these children. So within this school, we've basically got a physio room, an OT room, we've got psychology, we've got speech therapy. So we've literally got a medical centre, purpose-built, in the room with all the facilities. We are in the school and we are part of the school team. So then the head of inclusion and myself sit together and we go, right, we've got a child with severe cerebral palsy that needs to use a wheelchair and uses a walker. Okay, not a problem. How are we going to make that work? We've got another little girl that has got a very severe medical and neurological condition, which means she is completely restricted. She's non-verbal. She has to use computer systems. Not a problem. We'll make that work. We've got children with Duchenne's. We've got children with autism, all different things upon the kind of diagnosis and spectrums. But we are working together to be able to push in to support these children to access the everyday society, because as much as society needs to adapt and be more accommodating, we've got the Paralympics on at the moment, society does need to change, but equally we can't completely change the whole of society. So it's trying to get it to come together as opposed to having two separate entities.
I'm hearing so many opportunities for young people that do want to go down the path that you've taken to be thinking outside the box. There's a lot of creativity involved. Donna, let's go back to your university experience. I know young people are always curious about, well, what should I study? What do I need to do? What if I can't get into this program or that program? Talk to us about your journey and the choices that you made.
I had the most unconventional route you could possibly go. I got my GCSEs, but they weren't particularly great because that's just when the dyslexia diagnosis had formally come through. So dealing with that and realizing that, oh, hey, she's not stupid. Then in the UK, because the GCSEs weren't at the level really that they needed to be at to go straight into A levels, I did what then was called a GMVQ. I think it's probably similar to kind of a BTEC. So it was still the next level up, but it was much more vocational. It was much more practical based, and it was less academic in its testing. So it wasn't sit down exams. It was reports. It was, you had to do processes, you had to do work experiences and then write examples on that. But from that, I realized that actually I was slightly more academic than I had given myself credit. So I then went back and did A levels, got my A levels, B's, C's, not the greatest. And at that time, to go straight in and do physiotherapy at university was going to be a no-go because, in fact, it was more competitive than to get into medicine. You needed straight A's. So the university going straight into physio wasn't the option. So I looked at what was similar type of thing. Occupational therapy. So I did occupational therapy. I did my degree, but through doing my degree, I kind of still was like, I'm not 100% convinced that this is the right career. But anyway, I did it. I worked, and I spent just over a year, coming up 2 years, working as an occupational therapist in England. And one of my mentors there was actually a physiotherapist, quite a senior physiotherapist. And sadly, she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I'd gone to see her and she was like, you're not an occupational therapist, you're a physio. You're a physio through and through. You need to follow your dreams. I've written your reference. Here you need to apply for the master's. So it was a 2-year accelerated. That's why it was pitched at the high level, because you needed to already be at that standard. So I did my master's and completed my 2 years as a physiotherapist and have never looked back.
Amazing. If we have a parent or an educator watching this interview right now, what message do you want to give them about young people who might be struggling like you did? You said you were surviving high school. What would you like to tell them?
Love, support, honesty. If you don't know how to help someone, tell them you don't know how to help them, but also then say, but I will try and help you find someone that can. Don't give up, break it down. Even to this day, I still believe in break it down into small bite-sized steps. Anything is achievable.
I believe so. I really do. Donna, tell us about the mentoring program that you do with colleagues. I mean, it's absolutely incredible to see that Neuropedia Children's Neuroscience Center are not just about working with clients, but also about mentoring colleagues. How does that look? Because I think young people think we only study at school and then we go off to uni and then we never have to study again. But professional development is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in the science of medicine. It's constantly changing. We are finding more and more about conditions. Once upon a time, we knew nothing about DNA. Now we know fully about DNA and still learning more. And we're now learning how that we can impact some of these genetic conditions that we're coming across. So it's continuous, but it's also, I don't have all the answers. None of us have all the answers. But often the reason why we put the mentoring in here is so that we can review and look at the children that we are working with and treating with, and to make sure that we are giving what we call evidence-based, so that we're at the top of our game. So it may be that a child isn't making the progressions that we would expect, or there's a new something that can be added, or that has been added. There could be a drug that's been added. So what I do is I sit down and I take time to sit with the therapist to go through their caseloads and see, first of all, what's happening in their caseload to make sure that we are giving 100% to the children that need it. But also to then go, we then have meetings as a team that we don't necessarily talk about a single individual child, but we then talk about conditions, for example, like Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which is a condition that affects muscles and predominantly boys, and is mobility affected. So people end up generally in wheelchairs, and it's life limiting. But research is changing. There's medication that's coming out now. There's so many more things. So it's also just trying to keep on top of all of this information to, again, make sure that when we have these clients or that we're treating, we're doing our very best.
Wow. Donna, talk to me about your top 3 tips for thriving in a career. I think sometimes we think we hear very often, love what you do. And honestly, in my role, meeting professionals like yourself, I can hear the connection and the enthusiasm and the passion for work. But what I would love for students to understand is, how does that fit in context? It's not just about loving what you're doing, but it's more about connecting with some of those top tips that professionals have found success in their own careers.
I think the first thing you need to look at is what motivates you. Some people are motivated by the materialism and the money side. And don't get me wrong, yet we all need to earn money to be able to survive. But is it that motivates you? If it's that motivates you, then I don't think healthcare is necessarily the profession that you want to be in, because you don't earn big money. What you do get is the passion. You've got to be passionate about wanting to help people. It's wanting to be able to go that extra mile. So even though I say, well, I might work 9 till 5, no, my job is still going on in the evenings, because I'm reading about what's happening. I'm trying to research, what can I do else extra to try and help this person reach? So you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And if you can therefore enjoy it, this is generally your job is going to be the rest of your life, if you're lucky to get into a kind of a career like that. So you've got to enjoy it. You've got to go, yeah, there's rubbish bits of it. Yes, there's bureaucracy. There's always going to be little bits that are going to annoy you, but there has to be a bigger percentage of the motivation that is about the passion and the desire. I think also you need to look at the environment that you want to work in. I couldn't sit all day behind a desk and not interact with people. So for me, again, people are really, really important. And having that team around you, for me, is so I think you just need to look at yourself. I know I remember sitting at school going through all the SWOT analysis and your strengths and weaknesses. And as much as I think then what a load of rubbish it was, actually, I still do it now, and I still get my teams to do it now. Because you need to see what motivates you and what drives you. Because what drives you may not be what drives your friend.
That is such great advice. And I think it doesn't matter how old you are, that type of advice, sit down, reflect. What are you enjoying? What are you tolerating? And what do you want to do different? Always very important to be critically reflecting on ourselves. I know young people are always thinking about the challenges of work experience. But in listening to you talking today, I almost wonder if students should stop thinking about just going to a clinic or a center and really think about other places to be gaining experiences. What do you think about that, Donna?
Most definitely. My niece is 16 and just got her GCSE results. And I remember speaking to her the other day and said, so Mia, what's the plan? And she was like, I don't know, really. I like working with people. I like sport. She's a brilliant dancer. And she's like, so I could go into maybe psychology. I could go into sports psychology. But she quite wants to come and do some work experience with me to see whether she wants to come in this side of things. She's like, but I quite like being a teacher. So, and I'm like, you're 16. just pick some A levels, ones that you enjoy, ones that are across the board if you don't know where you want to be, and live life. And yeah, from there she'll learn.
Follow the path and go with the flow is what I'm hearing you say.
To a certain extent, yeah. There are some people that are dead set and know exactly where they want to be, and good luck to you, and that's brilliant. And after an experience I had, that's why I knew that I wanted to be a physio, because of an experience I had with someone. And to this day, it still makes me smile. I sometimes think you do need to go and experience different things and see what you like to do. Do you like being outside? Do you like being inside? Do you like being active? Do you like to sit down? Do you like the technology and me are just not something that go hand in hand?
Thank you, Donna. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I've learned so much. I think the one thing that I'm really walking away with is resilience isn't something that you learn in the classroom. It's something that life teaches you, and you learn to not give up. And I'm going to really remember that comment you made about what if you don't try, what is there? So just keep going, Thank you, Donna. It has been such a pleasure. Today we spoke with Donna Wicks, who is the Clinical Performance Manager at Neuropedia Children's Neuroscience Center here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you at our next DESCareers Digital Spotlight.